Malik Neighbors must be trying to win a pound for pound most disruptive teammate in the world award. Malik Neighbors is on his second year in the NFL, and he's already caused more problems than half the NFL players ever will in their entire career. He's complained about the Giants not competing to win in his rookie year. He comes back his second year, first week of the season. He's screaming at his head coach because he's not getting enough touches. What somebody needs to tell Malik Neighbors, if you want to touch the ball every single play, you have to be a quarterback. Otherwise, you're going to actually have to beat somebody and get open to touch the ball. He is a locker room cancer at every single level. Malik Neighbors is the definition of a locker room cancer. Do you think that any of those new quarterbacks want to come in and hang out with Malik Neighbors? No. Do you think anybody on the offensive line, defensive line, DBs wants to hang out with Malik Neighbors when he's complaining about how they're trash? No. Do you think that Malik Neighbors' head coaches, assistant coaches, or anybody in the front office wants to spend time with Malik Neighbors off of the football field? No, because he's always complaining about the situation that he's in and throwing darts at them. Malik Neighbors is a cancer to the New York Giants, and they need to trade him because he's becoming more of a headache than he is a producer on the field. If Malik Neighbors had production, he would be rightfully justified to complain as much as he did. He would be rightfully justified to complain as much as he does. The only problem is that Malik Neighbors comes out week after week after week with no production. The New York Giants scored 6 points the entire game, meaning Malik Neighbors had 0 touchdowns, which also means Malik Neighbors, you didn't contribute to the team. You didn't contribute to winning. You didn't contribute to success. So why are you the one to complain? Why aren't the other guys on the team complaining about you? If I was somebody else on the New York Giants, I would be asking, hey, why isn't Malik Neighbors getting in the end zone more? Why is Malik Neighbors screaming at the offense and the head coach when he has no touchdowns? Malik Neighbors is nothing more than a fantasy football receiver because at this point of his career, he's contributed to winning zero. Not at all. The Cincinnati Bengals first round draft pick didn't hear his name called a single time in week one of the season. Shamar Stewart didn't make a single tackle, a single play, a single deflection, a batted ball. He didn't rush the quarterback. He didn't get in the backfield. He didn't do anything. So that begs the question, why did the Cincinnati Bengals draft Shamar Stewart in the first round? In college, Shamar Stewart didn't make any plays. He doesn't have any statistics because he's not making ball plays. The Cincinnati Bengals thought, oh, he's just a physical freak. Let's draft him. Well, a physical freak with no pass rush moves and a guy who can't read his keys and recognize the run does nothing for your team. And a guy who can't recognize the run does absolutely nothing for your team. Jamar Stewart is proving that he is exactly who his college film said he was, a non contributor to a college and a non contributor to an NFL defense. Joe Burrow is a walking three and out. Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals went three and out, 5 straight possessions in the second half of their week one game against the Cleveland Browns. The Cincinnati Bengals had 5 straight three and outs in their week one game against the Cleveland Browns. Joe Burrow was there taking sacks over and over and over after he had time to make plays down the field. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, one of the best wide receivers that has ever lived, and T. Higgins, a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL Football League. So the wide receivers aren't the problem. It's not the guys aren't getting open. The offensive line isn't the problem because the offensive line was holding their blocks. Joe Burrow won't let go of the football. Throw the football, son. You have to trust your teammates. You have to trust your wide receivers. And if the play isn't ready pre snap, you have to change the play so that your team is in a position to be successful when the ball is snapped. Joe Burrow is letting down the Cincinnati Bengals on a weekly basis, and then the media blames it on the defense. What is the defense supposed to do? The Cincinnati Bengals defense gets a bad rep because they are on the field over and over and over. If you're on the field all of the time, you will eventually give up points. Joe Burrow is a three and out machine, meaning if you're on defense and you go play 10 plays, Joe Burrow is going to be right back off the field 3 plays later and asking you to go back out and play again for another 10 to 15 plays. It's unsustainable for an NFL defense to play the way that Joe Burrow asks his defense to play. In the second half of the Cincinnati Bengals game, the defense got 2 interceptions, a turnover on fourth down, and the Bengals still did not capitalize on any of them. Joe Burrow turned the ball right back over with 5 straight three and outs. So, how do we call Joe Burrow one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL when he can't capitalize on anything the entire second half of the football game? Joe Burrow went to battle for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to get signed. Joe Burrow, if you believe in your wide receivers that much, throw them the football. Joe Burrow had wide one-on-one opportunities all over the field today, and he just held on to the ball longer and longer and longer until Myles Garrett decided to sack him. Myles Garrett is the best and most disruptive defensive football player that we have ever seen. His entire career, he has been the sack leader, defensive monster, and a freak. There's no answer for what Myles Garrett does. He's either taller than you, stronger than you, his arms are longer, he's faster, or he's just more determined than you. There's nothing that an offensive lineman has been able to do throughout the 8 years of Myles Garrett's football career that has been effective in slowing or stopping him down. You can send one guy at him, two guys at him, three guys at him. Myles Garrett is going to make plays both in the pass game and in the run game. Mark Stoops is a disgrace to Kentucky sports. Mark Stoops has lost 8 straight home games as the head coach of Kentucky football program. And the only reason that Mark Stoops is still around is because his contract has such a large buyout that it would cost the university an amount of money that they're not willing to pay. Mark Stoops is watering down Kentucky's football program and making them the laughing stock of the SEC. Kentucky has the ability to recruit great players because Kentucky sports has a boatload of money. Mark Stoops can't recruit great players no matter how much money you give him. Mark Stoops can't execute and win a game no matter who you give him. Mark Stoops has had NFL players on his team every single year that he's been the head coach at the University of Kentucky, and he has had zero success. Even in the bowl games, it's few and far between that Kentucky makes a bowl game, and every year Kentucky's huge celebration is beating a mediocre Louisville football team. Kentucky fans need to bond together and run Mark Stoops out of town. If Kentucky can run John Calipari out of town, they can afford to run Mark Stoops out of town. Any football coach in the entire landscape of college football could come in tomorrow and do a better job with the resources at the University of Kentucky than Mark Stoops has been able to do. There are tons of assistant coaches who can recruit, they have connections, they can bring other great coaches to the program and build something from the ground. Mark Stoops is too old, he's too washed out, he's not able to connect with these kids or recruit them, and he is driving Kentucky's football program into the dirt. Even Vince Marrow left Mark Stoops, and that should have been the biggest sign of it all. Vince Marrow was the face of Kentucky football, and even he left to go to our arch rival, Louisville, because he didn't want to coach alongside Mark Stoops. Jerome Moore was set up for failure, and it couldn't be more obvious. Jerome Moore was thrust into a situation where they said, "Hey, do you want the keys to this shiny car, Michigan? We just won a bunch of national championships. We're coming off of a bunch of success. Jerome Moore, here, please come drive this car." What they didn't tell him about this shiny car of Michigan is that he was going to have to be suspended. They were going to go through NCAA sanctions. The entire time that he's the head coach of Michigan, there's going to be politics surrounding the university that has nothing to do with the football team on the field. Jerome Moore was nothing more than a shield for Jim Harbaugh to run out of town and go to the NFL, while Sharon Moore stayed at Michigan and took every single bullet that Michigan caught from their cheating scandal. Sharon Moore now is coming off of a loss to Oklahoma. He has to sit out for 2 weeks while he serves a suspension on behalf of Jim Harbaugh, and Michigan's going to lose two more games because they're not even able to practice, speak to, or talk to the head coach of the football team. And they have an 18-year-old quarterback who's supposed to be able to go out there and have success. Sharon Moore was set up at Michigan. Everybody knows it. They were going to get rid of him whether he had success or not. But the moment that they started losing games, Dave Portnoy and the Michigan donors were going to run him out of town. Bryce Underwood is a 6'5", 230-pound crybaby. It's his first NCAA college football game, and he's screaming at his teammates on the sideline, breaking down, trying to figure out what's going on. Bryce Underwood was completely overwhelmed at Oklahoma. He had no idea what was going on, and to say the least, the road atmosphere in a ranked game was way too much for Bryce Underwood to handle at 18 years old. The issue with all of that is the way that Bryce Underwood went about handling himself. He lashed out at his teammates. He lashed out at his coaches. Before the game, Bryce Underwood's putting out videos and statements saying, "Oh, I'm the best thing that everybody's ever seen. I'm the greatest quarterback ever. Nobody's ever seen a freshman like me." Bryce Underwood, you know who's seen a freshman like you before? Brent Venables, because he blitzed every single play, calling Bryce Underwood's bluff and saying, "Hey, I bet that this kid can't actually throw a football." And Brent Venables was right. Bryce Underwood can't throw a football at all. So Bryce Underwood's mouth is cashing checks that his right arm, Bryce Underwood's mouth is writing checks that his right arm can't cash. If Bryce Underwood was a running back, he'd be great. Bryce Underwood is supposed to be a college ball quarterback. He's supposed to be able to throw the ball downfield. He's supposed to be able to throw the ball accurately. Bryce Underwood is supposed to be the leader of his team who builds connections with his running back, who he was screaming at, builds connections with his wide receivers, who he missed on timing routes and miscommunications a number of times. And he's supposed to be building connections with the rest of his offense so that everybody's on the same page. Bryce Underwood's troubles and his miscommunications on the ball field are indicative of what's going on off of the ball field. Bryce Underwood's walking around Michigan's campus telling everybody he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I can guarantee you now his running back disagrees because they didn't get along on the field, and his wide receivers disagree because they had miscommunications almost every single time that Bryce Underwood tried to throw a football. Bryce Underwood needs to slow down, take time, be humble, and learn from someone else. The worst situation that Bryce Underwood ever could have walked into was walking into the locker room at Michigan where they handed him the keys and they were praising him since day one. Bryce Underwood needed to walk into a situation where he was humbled and playing behind a veteran quarterback who would show him how to navigate a university. This isn't your high school, Bryce. This is a college football university. DJ Lagway has underperformed his Heisman expectations worse than anybody we've ever seen. Coming into this year, DJ Lagway was thought to be one of the top two or three Heisman candidates, and he's embarrassing himself worse than Arch Manning is. DJ Lagway is 6'4, 6'5, 245 pounds of all muscle. He looks like a superhero when he walks out into the football field, up until the moment that you ask him to throw a football. DJ Lagway is big for no reason. He's not a college football quarterback. He's just a guy out there who looks like a sculpture. DJ Lagway DJ Lagway doesn't need to be the quarterback of the University of Florida. He needs to be a statue outside of the University of Florida. Big for no reason if you can't hit wide open receivers is not helpful. Big for no reason when you can't run the ball and get your team a first down is not helpful, DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway needs to find a way to lose some weight, become more mobile, become more accurate, and to be the Heisman candidate that Florida needs him to be. Because right now, DJ Lagway is nothing except an appearance of a quarterback that is not real. He's a facade. Clemson's football program continues to struggle because they continue to be led by the blind. Dabo Swinney, of course, is coming out and underperforming as he always does at Clemson. Once again, Dabo Swinney does not care about the players on his team. All he cares about is the appearance of the program. So Clemson's going to have another year where they're not going to make the college football playoffs. They're not going to have a convincing resume. They're not going to have any big wins. And they're not going to win a national championship or the bowl game that they compete in. Clemson is just showing up purely for show at this point. Week 1, they lost. Week 2, they were down 16-0 to Troy University. Troy, Alabama University was giving Clemson the ball game of their life. And Dabo Swinney was smiling at the cameras, running down the hill, trying to get all of the camera time that he could, because that's what Dabo Swinney's focused on. If you think that Dabo Swinney actually cares about football, you're lying to yourself. He cares about his social media image and what people perceive him as. Nico Iamaleava's parents need to be held accountable. His parents were the first people who truly tried to abuse NIL. Nico Iamaleava's family tried to hold the University of Tennessee hostage, saying, "Hey, he's not going to play for your program unless you pay us this much, which is way more than you ever guaranteed us before." Tennessee refused to do it, and they let Nico walk. Nico plays for UCLA now, who is the worst football program in all of college football. They won't win a game in a single year, and Nico looks horrible. So Nico Iamaleava's parents are negligent because they're holding a football program hostage, saying, "Hey, pay this much money for a product that we know is trash." And Nico Iamaleava's parents knew that he wasn't a good ball player because they live in the household with him. They know that Nico's not practicing. If Nico Iamaleava is not down on a turf football field with a helmet, a football, and a net, and nobody else out there practicing with him, then how could you ever tell somebody he's worth $6 million? I guarantee you everything. Nico Iamaleava has never practiced by himself to improve his ball game. He's never been down to the football field with a football, a net, and his helmet to practice. He's not dedicated. Nico Iamaleava is still trying to make a reputation off of somebody that he was at 17 years old, running around 7-on-7s with pajamas on. That's not who you are anymore, Nico Iamaleava. Everybody in college football was a ranked prospect at one point in time. So the skill gap has caught up with him. Now Nico Iamaleava is in a situation where he can't even transfer to another school because nobody wants a quarterback who's a sellout with a bad attitude. Nico's going to have to stick it out at UCLA until he figures out a way to repair the reputation that his parents absolutely broke apart for him. To repair the reputation that his parents absolutely disassembled for him. John Mateer is a defensive back's favorite late night snack. John Mateer is an interception machine. Last year at Washington State, he threw 7 interceptions, and this year, and already through 2 games of the season, he's thrown 2 picks at Oklahoma. John Mateer has an exciting play style. Exciting. What was exciting about Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield is that they were able to play an exciting, similar play style to John Mateer. But they didn't turn the ball over. When they made those plays, they had success making those plays. John Mateer is a 50-50 coin flip kind of quarterback. He's going to do some crazy stuff. The only difference is he's not efficient doing this kind of stuff. John Mateer is an interception machine last year, this year, he always has been, he always will be. John Mateer doesn't have NFL size, so if he's going to throw interceptions, his career will quite literally be over as soon as this Oklahoma Sooners football season is over. If you are a 6'1", 220-pound NFL quarterback, you have to be the most accurate thing walking. John Mateer's not accurate. You have to be fast. John Mateer's not really that fast. You have to be a leader of the clubhouse. That's something John Mateer can do. That alone is not going to solidify John Mateer as an NFL draft pick in 2025. John Mateer is not even really a quarterback. If you're going to throw as many interceptions as you throw touchdowns, you're not a quarterback. John Mateer is a running back. The Oklahoma Sooners call design runs for him more than they call design runs for their actual running back himself. John Mateer is what they told you that Lamar Jackson was. He's a guy who's inaccurate. He throws the ball on a whim. He's high turnovers, and he's high turnovers, and he's undersized at the quarterback position. John Mateer is a good ball player. He's not an NFL ball player, and he's certainly not the Heisman. Unless Oklahoma goes on to win the national championship, you quite literally may not hear John Mateer's name called the rest of the football season. Week 1 Jackson Dart update. He didn't play a single lick. No, seriously, Jackson Dart didn't get in the game for the New York Giants. Not 1 second. Out of all of that preseason hype that we gave Jackson Dart, out of all of the credit that we gave Jackson Dart, he's not a football player. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. Jackson Dart is a social media guy. He's a TikTok guy. He's an Instagram guy. Jackson Dart isn't a quarterback for any NFL football team. He has a jersey. He's on the roster. There's nobody in the city or state of New York who actually believes that Jackson Dart is going to come into a football game for them and win the game. Much less, there's nobody in the state of New York who thinks Jackson Dart's actually going to get in the football game. They just want Jackson Dart there so that he's able to take photos before the game, selfies during the game, and then after the game, they're going to say, hey, Jackson, will you walk around the stadium 32 times and just sign everybody's stuff? Because we're going to try to monetize that at some point. Jackson Dart is not an NFL football player, so let's stop focusing on him. Let's focus on the guys who are actually going to be playing. The Chiefs dynasty ended all at once, and it's a beautiful sight. The Kansas City Chiefs came out week 1, and they looked incapable of doing anything on offense. Travis Kelce is slow, washed. He's given up on his football career because in his mind, he's settled. Travis Kelce has reached the peak of his career, and it's not even on a football field. In Travis Kelce's mind, he's literally on his farewell tour because he's married a billionaire. So why does he care about his football career? Why does Travis Kelce care if he gets some yards after catch? He doesn't. Travis Kelce isn't throwing blocks. He's not helping out his team. Not a team guy anymore because he's married to Taylor Swift. The entire Kansas City Chiefs organization has gone down the drain because all of their players got too big for themselves. Travis Kelce got too big for himself. As soon as he met Taylor Swift, his NFL career was over in terms of production. Pat Mahomes, the State Farm guy, too big for himself. He's not as electric as he was once before. There was nothing that Patrick Mahomes was able to do to get the Chiefs over the top. So, yes, the Chiefs dynasty, the Chiefs run, the Chiefs franchise is in the gutter. It's all over.